Good morning. This is Sumanna working as assistant professor at Department of Biochemistry, Government City College, Nayapul, Hyderabad. Today's our topic is initiation of DNA replication. And what is replication? In molecular biology, DNA replication is the biological process of producing two identical replicas of DNA from one original DNA molecule. It means from a single DNA molecule, two identical DNA molecule will be synthesized. And DNA replication occur in all the living organisms, acting as the most essential part for biological inheritance. Inheritance means the transfer of genetic material from one generation to the other generation. And the transmission of chromosomal DNA from generation to generation is crucial to cell propagation. And this can only be achieved when chromosomal DNA is accurately replicated, providing two copies of the entire genome for faithful distribution into each daughter cell. And here some terms we'll discuss, that is, one is replicon and origin of replication. What is the meaning of origin of replication is that the DNA replication starts at a particular site. Okay, the particular site is called the origin of replication. And what is the meaning of replicon is a unit of DNA in which replication starts from an origin and proceeds bidirectionally to terminus site is called a replicon, which is a unit of DNA replication. And replicon can be linear or circular, and prokaryotic replicons are usually circular, whereas eukaryotic replicons are linear. In bacterial cells, the circular chromosome contains a unique origin and DNA replication proceeds bidirectionally from the origin to the terminus, which is a single replicon. That's why the prokaryotic cell replication is called monorepliconic, whereas eukaryotic cell contains multiple replication origins on a single chromosome, and hence they have many replicons. That's why eukaryotic cells have multirepliconic. And individual replicons in eukaryotic genomes are relatively small and generally 40 to 100 kilobase pairs in size. The individual replicons in eukaryotic genomes are relatively small and 40 to 100 kilobase pairs in the size. And here if you see, this is the E. coli origin of replication. The origin of replication is a cis-acting sequence. And in E. coli, single origin of replication presents in the chromosome is referred to as oric, and it spans approximately 245 base pairs of DNA. The origin of replication in E. coli is around 245 base pairs, and it contains two short repeat motifs. One is called which consisting of 9 nucleotides, that's why it is called 9-mer, and the other segment a repeat consisting of 13 nucleotides, which is called 13-mer, and the 9 nucleotide repeat which has 5 number, 5 copies of which are dispersed throughout the oric and is the binding site for a protein called DNA-A. The 9-mer is the site for the binding of the protein DNA-A. The result of DNA-A binding is that the double helix opens up, that is melts within the tandem array of 380 rich, that is 13 nucleotide repeats located at one end of the oric sequence. And if you see in the diagram, these are this whole thing is called origin of replication in E. coli, which has 245 base pairs, which consisting of 5 9-mers, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 5 9-mers. Why it is called 9-mer? Because it consisting of a repeating unit of 9 nucleotides, that is TT, AT, CC, ACA. And this 9 base pair sequence, which is called 9-mer, This is the binding site for DNA protein. And when you see here, this is the which consisting of 13 base pair sequence repeating units called GATC, TA, TTT, ATTT. And this is the 13 base pair sequence which is present in at one end of the origin of replication, and 3 copies of 13 mers are present. And here if you see, this is the 9 mer and this is a 13 mer. This whole thing is called orexy, that is the origin of replication. When the ATP along with DNA protein binds at the 9 mer position, that is called initiation complex, and with the binding of the DNA protein, there is a separation of 2 strands at the 13 mer sequence. That's why here the open complex is formed. If you see here, this is the open complex, so that the DNA can act as the template strand for the replication. And this ORI contains 11 repeats, that is GATC repeats, that are methylated on adenine. This adenine will get methylated on both strands, and only fully methylated origins can initiate replication, and hemimethylated daughter origins cannot be used again until they have been restored to the fully methylated state. Only the methylated adenine can undergo the separation strand. And the origin of replication in yeast. Up to now we have seen the origin of replication in E. coli, whereas how the structure of the origin of replication is in yeast is that the origin of replication in yeast is known as autonomously replicating sequences, that is called ARS, autonomously replicating sequences. And a typical yeast ARS is shorter than the E. coli origin, which is usually 200 base pairs in length, and when it comes to the E. coli, that is 245 base pair in length. So the yeast origin is small in length compared to the E. coli origin. And an ARS element consisting of an AT rich region which includes a consensus sequence, A domain and additional elements, that is B1 to B3. B1, B2 and B3 are the additional elements. A domain contain 14 base pair sequence that contains an 11 base pair consensus sequence consisting of 80 base pairs. Domain B2 and B3 function in a manner similar to the E. coli origin. Domain B2 and B3 function in a manner similar to the E. coli origin. Melting of the DNA occurs within the domain B2, which is induced by the attachment of the ARS binding factor 1 to the B3. And here A and B1 domain binds with the origin recognition complex. The ORC is a complex of 6 polypeptides with a mass of about 400 kilodaltons. During G1 phase of cell cycle, CDC proteins binds with the ORC, and this CDC6 protein is an unstable protein with an half-life of less than 5 minutes with an ATPase activity. And the presence of CDC6 at the origin allows the MCM, that is mini chromosome maintenance proteins, to bind to the complex. When the replication is initiated, the CDC6 and the MCM proteins will get dissociated from the complex, and the degradation of the CDC6 prevents the reinitiation. And here some of the common features of the replication origin. Those are: the replication origins are unique DNA segments that contain multiple short repeated sequences. The other common feature is that the short repeat units are recognized by multimeric origin binding proteins. These proteins play a key role in assembling DNA polymerases and other replication enzymes at the sites where replication begins. And origin regions usually contain an AT-rich stretch. This property facilitates unwinding of duplex DNA because less energy is required to melt AT base pairs than the GC base pairs. because there are only two hydrogen bonds are present between adenine and thymine, that is AT, whereas three hydrogen bonds are present between guanine and cytosine, that is GC. That's why always the original replication will be AT rich region, because of which less energy is required. And the replication fork. What is the meaning of replication fork is that in each replicon, replication is continuous from the origin to the terminus and is accompanied by the movement of the replication point called the replication fork. In the case of unidirectional replication, single replication fork forms, whereas in bidirectional replication, two replication forks form that move in opposite directions. And most DNA replication is bidirectional. And the velocity of fork movement has been estimated from the size of a replicon and the length of its replication period. In E. coli, the replication fork proceeds at about 1000 base pairs per second per fork, and one Okazaki fragment is synthesized for every 1 to 2 seconds, because each Okazaki fragment consisting of nearly 1000 to 2000 base pairs. So per each second there is a synthesis of 1 to 1 Okazaki fragments. And in eukaryotic cells, the rate of the fork movement is very slow compared to the E. coli. It is around 100 base pairs per second per fork. It means nearly 10 times slower than the E. coli replication fork movement. And here if you see in this diagram, this is the unidirectional replication and this is the bidirectional. Uni means single, and the replication fork movement occurs only in one direction. This is the replication fork, and here the synthesis of the leading strand and the lagging strand. So here from the origin of replication, the movement is only single direction, that is unidirectional. When you see here, this is the bidirectional replication model. This is the origin of replication, whereas there is a movement of replication fork in both the direction. Here you can see this is one replication fork and this is one replication fork. In either direction the movement is occurring. That's why it is called bidirectional replication. And DNA replication in E. coli. The genome of E. coli is replicated bidirectionally from a single origin, that is oric. And E. coli replicon is circular with no free ends, because the genome in the E. coli is in circular, that's why with no free ends. And the replication of DNA in E. coli is also known as theta replication, and it occurs in 3 steps. Those are initiation, elongation and termination. And initiation involves recognition of the position on a DNA molecule where replication begins. Okay, the beginning of the replication is called initiation, and the elongation concerns the events occurring at the replication fork where the parent nucleotides are copied. And when it comes to the termination, this occurs when the parent molecule has been completely replicated. After the completion, the termination occurs. And before going into the detailed processes or steps, we'll discuss about the biochemistry of the DNA replication. Here, DNA replication is a complex process, involves numerous enzymes and proteins. In E. coli, more than 20 different proteins participate in replication, and on the basis of their biochemical roles in different stages of chromosomal DNA replication, these proteins are classified into several categories. And the proteins which are involved in the initiation of replication are DNA-A, single-stranded DNA binding protein, that is SSB, and DNA-B, that is helicase, DNA-C and DNA-G, which acts as a primers. And second category of proteins are proteins required for the chain elongation and connecting Okazaki fragments. Those are DNA polymerase, SSB, that is single stranded binding protein, DNA gyrase and DNA ligase. And third category are a swivel to relieve the positive supercoiling in advance of the replication fork, that is DNA gyrase. And the fourth category of the proteins are proteins for the termination of replication and segregation of daughter molecules. Those are terminus binding protein, that is TUS, and the DNA topoisomerase 4. DNA topoisomerase 4. Now the enzymes are DNA helicase and primase. We'll discuss in detail. That is, DNA helicases are ATP dependent unwinding enzymes which promote the separation of the two parental strands and establish replication forks that will progressively move away from the origin. And the primary replicative helicase, that is DNAB, binds to and moves on the lagging strand template in the 5' 3' direction, unwinding the duplex as it goes. This is a important step. DNA helicase is the enzyme which can provide the template strand for the DNA replication by separating the two strands of the DNA by breaking the hydrogen bonds between two complementary DNA strands. And the other enzyme is the DNA primase, which can synthesize a short RNA primers less than 15 nucleotides to prime the DNA chain elongation. And the term primosome is used to denote a complex between primase and helicase, and sometimes with other accessory proteins. The helicase and primase together is called primosome. The topoisomerase also involves in the DNA replications, and DNA topoisomerase is a nuclease. What is the function of nuclease enzyme? Which can break the phosphodiester bond. So a DNA topoisomerase is a nuclease that breaks a phosphodiester bond in a DNA strand. This reaction is reversible. Why? Because when the topoisomerase leaves the DNA strand, then again reformation of phosphodiester bond occurs. And topoisomerase could be divided into two main groups. Those are type 1 topoisomerases and type 2 topoisomerases. Type 1 topoisomerases produces a transient single strand break, whereas type 2 double strand break. And type 1 topoisomerase enzymes binds to DNA and breaks one strand, forming a 5' phosphotyrosine linkage. Whereas type 2 topoisomerases makes a transient double strand break in the helix, which forms a covalent linkage to both strands of the DNA helix at the same time. And the DNA polymerases, an enzyme that can synthesize a new DNA strand on a DNA template, is called DNA dependent DNA polymerase, or simply called DNA polymerase enzyme. In eubacteria such as E. coli, there are 3 different types of DNA polymerases are there. Those are DNA polymerase 1, 2 and 3. And DNA polymerase 1, which is discovered by the scientist Arthur Kornberg, is primarily utilized in filling in small DNA segments during replication and repair processes. Whereas DNA polymerase 2 can serve as an alternative repair polymerase. It can also replicate the DNA if the template is damaged. Whereas DNA polymerase 3 is the primary polymerase during the normal DNA replication. If you see the comparison between these 3 enzymes are, the number of subunits present in a DNA polymerase 1 are only 1, and subunits for polymerase 2 are unknown. And in the polymerase 3 there are 10 subunits are there. And when it comes to the exonuclease activities, that is 3', 5' exonuclease activity, that it means the breaking of the phosphodiester bond in the DNA strand from 3' direction to the 5' direction. It means it will start the breaking of the phosphodiester bond from the 3' end of the DNA strand. this activity is present in all the three polymerase enzymes. And whereas 5' 3' exonuclease activity, it means the breaking of the phosphodiester bond from the 5' end of the DNA strand, and this activity is present only in the DNA polymerase 1 but not in polymerase 2 and 3. And the different functions of these three enzymes are: polymerase 1 is involved in DNA repair and also the gap filling. Polymerase 2 function is DNA repair, whereas the DNA polymerase 3 is the main replicating enzyme. And these are the different replicating enzymes or proteins from E. coli and human. You can compare here. That is the enzyme or protein that is helicase, which is in E. coli DNA B acts as a helicase, and in humans MCM can act as a helicase. And single strand DNA binding proteins are SSPs in E. coli, whereas in human beings that is RPA, replication protein A. The primase activity will be done by DNA G in E. coli, whereas in humans that is by DNA polymerase alpha or primase enzyme. And the replicase enzyme, replicating enzyme is a DNA polymerase 3 in the E. coli, and in humans it is DNA polymerase epsilon or DNA polymerase delta. The topoisomerase activity will be done in E. coli by gyrase enzyme, whereas in humans it is by topoisomerase 1 and 2. And the processivity component is a beta clamp in E. coli, whereas in humans it is PCNA, that is proliferating cell nuclear antigen. And the clamp loader in the E. coli is the gamma complex, whereas in humans it is RFC, that is replication factor. Now the initiation of the DNA replication. How the DNA replication initiation occurs. Here if you see the DNA A protein, which is a protein DNA which initiates the replication in E. coli at ORIC, and DNA A proteins binds to the 9-mer sequence which is present in the ORIC, forming an initiation complex. With the binding of the DNA to the ORIC C 9-mers, which facilitates the initial strand separation or melting by breaking the hydrogen bonds in between the complementary DNA strands of E. coli, which occurs at the 13-mers. Okay, and this process requires the ATP, and which will forms the open complex. And further melting of the two strands of the E. coli chromosome to generate the unpaired template strands is mediated by the DNA protein, which is a helicase activity. And one molecule of DNA B, a hexamer of identical subunits, which clamps around each of the two single strands in the open complex formed between the DNA A and the ORIC. And this binding requires ATP and the DNA C proteins. This DNA C acts as helicase loader, and helicases move along a DNA duplex utilizing the energy of ATP hydrolysis to separate the strands. And in E. coli, the separated strands are inhibited from subsequently re-annealing by single strand binding protein, that is SSB, which binds to both the separated strands. With the binding of the single stranded binding proteins, the two template strands cannot re-anneal again, and the DNA polymerase can only elongate the existing primer strands of DNA or RNA, because this DNA polymerase cannot add the nucleotides without the free 3' OH group, hydroxyl group, and this free 3' hydroxyl group will be provided by the RNA primers. And the primers used during replication in both prokaryotes and eukaryotes are short RNA molecules O-synthesis is catalyzed by the RNA polymerase primase. And after the bound primase synthesize the short primer RNAs complementary to both strands of duplex DNA, they dissociate from the single stranded template. And what are the sequence of events during the initiation are? These are the sequences, that is, first the binding of the DNA protein to the oric, then loading of the DNA helicase, that is DNA B, then helicase opens the helix and binds the primase to form primosome. The primosome is nothing but DNA G. Next, synthesis of the RNA primer. Next step is the initiation of DNA polymerase by DNA polymerase enzyme. And in E. coli cells, the time required to replicate the chromosome and the generation time are virtually constant at 37 degrees centigrade. And the time required to replicate the chromosome is approximately 40 minutes and the generation time is 20 minutes. To achieve this organism has developed the capacity to initiate a second round of replication before the previous round has terminated. As a result of this, as many as 6 replication forks may be active on a single chromosome, a process termed as dichotomous replication. This is about the initiation of the replication, and the elongation and termination we will discuss in the next class. And thank you to all.